Before this video starts and before I throw my opinions into the void that the internet is, I want everyone to know that I love the character of Spider-Man. I grew up watching and rewatching the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, then moved on to The Amazing Spider-Man, and now here we are. I watched every Spider-Man show in existence, and me being the fanboy I am, I saw the MCU Spider-Man movies. I did enjoy them for what they were, but when I got home I felt like something was missing from those movies. It felt like I had missed the biggest chapter in this Peter Parker story. One where he learns that everything he does has consequences, whether that be good or bad. One where he learns and earns his way to becoming a hero, but that didn't happen. Now this isn't a review or a rewrite, it's just my personal opinion on the MCU Spider-Man. I think the MCU refuses to use more serious storylines with Spider-Man. What I mean by that is they refuse to have him have consequences. They refuse to tell stories that make the audience feel something for this character. There's a reason why I haven't really talked about the MCU Spider-Man, and the reason is because I didn't think I had anything new to say. High Top Films and Troy pretty much covered my thoughts on these movies.
Spider-Man Far From Home takes everything that worked about Endgame, every heartbreaking moment, and turns it into a joke within the first 2 minutes of the film.
Biggest, most important moments for this movie and for this story and for this character, they fuck it up.
But then I realized something. Marvel wants Spider-Man to be the fun, kind-hearted hero he is, which is great, but also it's not. Let me explain. In Spider-Man Homecoming, we follow Peter. Throughout the story, he wants to be an Avenger. But as the story goes on, he starts to learn what it's like to truly be a hero, having to fight with the limited resources he has because he almost caused the death of hundreds of people.
Squeeze it! Alright, the adult is talking.
That sounds like a great story on paper, but where I think they kinda messed up was having Tony be there to mentor him. I get where they were going with this. Tony brought him in and now he has to teach him responsibility.
Hey everyone.
Good job.
There is a scene in Far From Home where Peter uses Ben's suitcase and the camera zooms on the initials BFP. And you might think, oh, they might bring Ben up later on. Nope. Instead, the suitcase got burned or destroyed and Peter doesn't give two shits. Dear Marvel, no one can replace Ben Parker. Not Tony, not Happy, not fucking Mysterio. God, I can't believe I have to explain this to you. Ben is an integral part in Peter's life, and so is Aunt May, but we'll talk about that later. Ben is the person who teaches Peter about responsibility. Ben and May were there for Peter when his parents couldn't be. Anything of Ben's should mean the fucking world to Peter, and it getting destroyed should have devastated him. Imagine losing your father. Then imagine losing the only father figure you had, and feeling responsible for it. Now imagine getting these crazy ass powers and feeling like it is your job to help protect people. So you would do what you can to help, what you can to save people. You would follow by your uncle's words. With great power comes great responsibility. But instead we get
Peter mourning over the loss of a mentor while also wanting to fall in love and go on vacation. The movie teasing us with a multiverse and
Sorry, you're saying there's a multiverse?
saying that Mysterio is a good guy when we all fucking know that he's not. Peter giving the last thing Tony left him and probably the most dangerous thing Tony has ever built to Mysterio after only knowing him for 2 days and only having 2 conversations with the guy. We get this weird plot with whatever the hell this guy's name is, trying to expose Peter and Peter almost killing this dude. Oh, and we get this confusing message. You have to be yourself and be your own hero. And then they blast AC/DC while Peter looks like he's becoming the next Iron Man or Iron Boy Jr.
like, come on, man.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get.
I don't like being negative. I really don't. I just wish that they gave this character more to do, more to learn. This movie wants to be fun and lighthearted, which is fine, but you can't ignore the essence of the character just to cram him into the story. Peter Parker, like many of us, makes mistakes and has consequences for those. Now you all may be saying, well, he gets a consequence when everyone learns his secret. No, he doesn't. That was just a cop-out way for Marvel to move the story forward. Just like when May found out he was Spider-Man, but in Far From Home she's perfectly fine with it. She doesn't worry. She's fully supportive of her superhero son. If I was a hopeful person, I would say, well, Marvel could make a lot of cool stories out of this concept, but considering what they did with the last cliffhanger, I doubt it. Clearly, I'm not a hopeful person. This isn't the worst movie I've seen, we'll be talking about that one soon. No! And I think that Marvel really missed the ball when it comes to telling a good story with this character.
Everybody loves a hero. People line up for them, cheer them, scream their names, and years later they'll tell how they stood in the rain for hours just to get a glimpse of the one who taught him to hold on a second longer. I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us noble, and finally allows us to die with pride. Even though sometimes we have to be steady and give up the thing we want the most. Even our dreams. SpiderMan did that for Henry, and he wonders where he's gone. He needs him. Do you think you could lift that desk and put it into the garage for me? But don't strain yourself.
Okay.
Now, I don't like comparing the Spider-Man movies because you're always going to have people in the comments arguing about which one's better, but honestly, they're all great. Now, that may sound confusing considering I just spent however many fucking minutes complaining about Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but he has his moments. Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland are all great Spider-Men. They all have their pros and cons. But it's difficult to ignore the other movies. It's difficult to not compare when they've done it so much better. Let's talk about AntMay.
I believe there's a hero in all of us.
Your stupid, non-scientific aunt who doesn't know how to make ends meet, who has to take nursing classes with 22-year-old kids so I can pay for you to go to college. And I don't know how to do this without Ben. I don't know how. And you're dreaming about your perfect father who was never here. No, I won't tell you. You're my boy. As far as I'm concerned, you're my boy. And I won't hurt you.
I know this wasn't in the movie, it's from the editor's cut, but it's just, this scene's just so fucking good. It's so goddamn good. And then we have this.
Hungry? So sorry. I thought that you could sense that with your Peter tingle.
Do I even have to explain? This is AntMay. This is also AntMay. This is not. AntMay is supposed to be there for Peter. AntMay is supposed to give advice for Peter. AntMay has been there for Peter ever since he was a kid. To prove my point a little bit more, I want to play a game. The rules of the game are simple. Can you tell me the difference between these scenes? Is it A, all these scenes contain a version of AntMay? Is it B, these movies are great, you're just a hack? Or is it C, one of these movies fails to show the relationship between May and Peter? I'll give you a few minutes in the comment. 3, 2, 1. If you chose C, you're absolutely fucking right. Jokes aside, I really hope that they do the character well in Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, I don't want to leave this video on a negative type comment, but I think that if Marvel plays their cards right, and if Tobey and Andrew are in Spider-Man No Way Home, they could really make that a good story. Yeah, it might seem a little bit rushed considering Spider-Verse and everything, but I really think that they can make it work if they tried.